Welcome back to the War Room. A rock star has just entered the arena here. Paulina Luna, Congresswoman from South Florida, is going to be talking to us about her latest insights into Merrick Garland, inherent contempt, the Secret Service, the blockade of information that is not being sent to members of Congress who represent the American people. So I'm so thrilled to have her and Monica Crowley here. Monica and her are set up to take it away because I don't want to interfere with this amazing conversation.
Well, thank you, Cash, and please chime in. And it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks for being
this
back
morning.
on, yeah.
And by the way, I said to you before you sit down, you were behind the president last night. You look spectacular, absolutely gorgeous. So in addition to being one of the greatest firebrands we have for America First, you're stunningly beautiful.
Thank you. I'm going to come on the show more often.
This is how we do it.
This is good. I know now why you like to come on.
All true, all true. Talk to us first about inherent contempt, which is you brought against Merrick Garland, the sitting attorney general, for defying congressional subpoena to come forward and turn over the Robert Hur audio tapes of his conversation with Joe Biden on the documents.
The same defiance that Steve Bannon is in prison for, right?
Correct.
Which is why you and I are hosting and Steve Bannon is not today. So can you tell us the status of that?
Yeah, so no changes. I think it's really important for people to know that before what happened with the assassination attempt, that President Trump said not only does he want this to go forward, but also he wants Jack Smith subpoenaed. And so I think the American people should realize this is the leader of our party. There's a reason why he's embraced this. It is an effective tool that was written by one of our founding fathers and supposed to be an accountability mechanism. And so, you know, I tell people and people say, well, give us names. And what I will tell those people is that we are going to ensure that the people that are blockading us are going to find a different job. Because what I've experienced over the last couple of weeks is when they say the swamp is real, and then you're seeing that there are Republican staff that are intentionally undermining the true legal arguments for what inherent contempt is, telling members of Congress that this is unconstitutional, that it can't be passed, and then directly undermining the negotiated release of the tapes with the White House. In my opinion, not only are they not Republican, not only should they not be working for the House of Representatives, but I would argue that they're probably controlled opposition, because why would you undermine the release of those tapes?
Republican staff. This is not
Republican staff.
Maxine Waters staff or Hakeem Jeffries staff, Republican staff. Yeah, so clearly controlled opposition.
Yeah. And, you know, they don't want members of Congress to know the rules. The only reason I found out about this is because I read Jefferson's Manual when I was out recovering from childbirth, really. And I worked with a great attorney that actually helped kind of run the traps to understand it. But what I will say is that this is absolutely an accountability mechanism. It's absolutely coming back. I do believe that we have the votes to pass it. As you saw, we had 2 pieces of legislation that actually gone down because I think we had like 11 members missing. People flew out early. And honestly, you know, we have one job, it's to vote. And so I'm going to be making sure that we bring that on a day.
So the importance of this, just for people who aren't familiar with these, you know, this web of congressional rules that Anna had to go out and discover, which I find horrifying, being the guy who ran the Russiagate investigation as a staffer. I thought they were readily available, and people knew about them.
And they don't teach you.
It's unbelievable. But 2, it's simple. She is one of the brave congresswomen that are there to try to get information, not for herself. She's trying to get it to the American public. And Republican staff are blocking her ability to do so, along with the Biden administration, of course. And so just for the War Room posse that's out there, all she's trying to do is get the American people the documents that show whether or not they are violating the law, and also the audio tape so we can just listen to Joe Biden.
And I want people to know, too, though, I actually offered to go with a handful of members because the argument is, well, Republicans just want these tapes to cut them up before the election. Okay, that was the big argument from the Democrats and the White House. We actually offered to go into a skiff and listen to these audio recordings, not even taking them out with us, and they still wouldn't let us do that. So then that brings me to my next question. What the hell are on the tapes where they were actually preventing us from listening to them in a skiff?
They wouldn't even do that.
Correct.
And that prompts the question, if Merrick Garland, the sitting attorney general, is willing to take on a contempt of Congress charge in order to protect those tapes have to be catastrophically bad for Joe Biden.
It's worse than Watergate if you look at it from what Garland is doing from that perspective. It really is. It's worse than Watergate. But I would also say that, you know, it's pretty telling that within 2 days, the Department of Justice said, we're not going to prosecute. If he was a Republican, he'd be in jail. Steve Bannon's in jail.
This is the 2-tier administrative system of justice in the administrative state. Donald Trump exerted executive privilege over Steve Bannon's subpoena. Steve Bannon followed the exertion of executive privilege and is now in prison. Now, Congress subpoenas an audio tape from the Department of Justice, and Garland goes running to Daddy at the White House and says, please assert executive privilege. He does so, violates a congressional subpoena, and then continues to be the #1 cop in the United States of America outside of prison. And the American people are deprived of the information you're so desperate.
They released a transcript that we believe is doctored, and that he actually made an omission of testifying before Congress that there was.
Isn't that also against the law to doctor an official document?
Yeah, not to mention they're interfering with an investigation. So they released the transcript, which, to my knowledge, would waive executive privilege. They can't do that. That kind of goes out the window with that legal argument. And then they're saying, well, you can see the transcript, but you can't actually see what the audio recording is, which means they edit it.
So what's the next step? You're going to call for another vote.
So I'm calling for
week?
another vote. I'm bringing it to the floor, and I do believe that we have the votes to pass it. If I would have, if they would have called the vote, if Johnson would have said, "Hey, bring the vote," that evening, we would have passed it.
It's just
as
members
you saw.
literally left.
Yeah. There was actually, I think, 2 members had family emergencies. There was a funeral. So there's some things that happened, but we would have had the votes. We had the votes the day that it passed, and it passed. They tried to send it to committee. They tried to do a table, which means just kill it all together, and it passed. Literally 3 attempts, and then.
So then what happens? Assuming you get the vote, then an arrest warrant goes out, and the sergeant of arms will arrest the attorney general?
No, so there's an amended version. So the amended version has a $10,000 a day fine for Garland each day that he defies a subpoena that he can only pay
There you go,
personally.
using the power of the purse.
Exactly, which
Love
is
it.
a phenomenal concept with Congress, right? We should be doing that more. But, what ultimately will happen is the House of Representatives, then likely, I don't think Garland will pay that. And so they'll bring suit and force him to provide that payment, which is what they would do with any other person. And so, again, this argument that it can't be done, actually it can. There was a Supreme Court case that upheld that ruling. And so we are operating well within our authority. And so when people try to say, pull out their legal hats, no offense, Cash, but when they do, I'm like, look, I might not be an attorney, but I know how to read.
I'm not anymore. I used to be one. But
Yeah.
in the 4 or so minutes we have left, I really want the War Room posse, one, get behind Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna's movement. Call your congressmen, call your congresswomen, call the Speaker's office, and don't harass them. Just tell them what your position is and support Anna. This, I think, ties directly into the tragedy of President Trump's attempted assassination. And again, the desire for the American public to know what happened.
Yeah.
I've always said, having worked 16 years in national security intelligence and all this other stuff, don't accuse anyone yet. Let's ask questions. Let's get the documents. It wasn't this person's fault or that person's fault. We have to get information. That's where Congress comes in. Are you receiving the same blockade?
Yeah, we were supposed to get a briefing. Comer had actually put out a request for a briefing from Secret Service. We still haven't gotten that. And listen to how many days it's been. We should have had that almost immediately. We have our first hearing on Monday, but Monday hearing with no briefing. How are we supposed to prepare for that hearing? I mean, we can provide and come up with stuff that we can find. I've been doing my best as an investigator. What I will say is that I have direct sourcing with one of the individuals that was there without, this is obviously a live investigation, so without naming them directly. But what I will say is that there was 2 teams. That one team that we saw on the roof initially, they were not the ones that actually took the shot that euthanized the shooter. But the fact is that there was a way, way big opportunity for local law enforcement to euthanize that shooter way beforehand, and I think they took a walk.
Wow. So I'm going to send you, you don't have to read it, you can light it on fire.
Yeah.
But yesterday on Outkick, Clay and Buck published my op-ed on what I think the next step should be to help Congress take charge and not I think it's monumentally unfair and disrespectful to have this FBI and DOJ say they're going to run an
Oh, yeah, the same
investigation.
people that can't find
Yeah.
the people that placed the pipe
So-
bomb at the RNC.
Or
No,
the
exactly.
cocaine, or buried Hunter Biden's laptop, or raided
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, Thomas
You
Massey had a
cannot
great tweet.
have them running this investigation.
So I laid out a roadmap borrowing from my Russiagate days on some things that Congress can do, and I called on Speaker Johnson to take charge and not let the FBI and DOJ run it. And don't cede. People forget, Congress, the legislative branch, is a coordinate, co-equal branch of government. They are not subservient. In fact, constitutionally, the DOJ and FBI report to you. And so I would hope, and I told him, I literally put in the op-ed, I'll literally run your investigation for free. Call me anytime. I might have done this a time or two.
Volunteer staffer.
Yeah, great. I don't care. I don't need the attention or credit, but anything we can do to help you lay the road.
Yeah, we had multiple members, to include myself, have asked for a select committee on this because I don't think it
I
can
think
be
that's the
done
right
via
answer.
like 1 or 2 hearings on judiciary oversight or weaponization. And I'm also under the idea that I feel like for a long time we had the ability to do more, and people just slow roll things. And I don't really care if that pisses people off.
Can we put you on the select committee, please?
I
Yes.
would be more than willing to do that because I'm under the idea, again, I've seen enough people, and it's just like you get out there and you see these people that have these reputations, and then you see that they're slow rolling things. They are slow rolling things, and so that shit's not going to fly. So, excuse my language. I don't know if I can say
hey,
that.
this is the word. You can say whatever you want.
Sorry.
Say whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
So where in the coming days, we know you're going to be here at the RNC. We know you're speaking tonight. What do you, maybe give us a little preview? I know you don't want to give it all away. But what are you gonna be talking
I
about?
think it's really important that, and again, we see this with President Trump and now I think J.D. Vance, and that is a massive movement of the American people that just don't want endless wars for no reason. We're not war hawks. We're not part of the industrial complex. And so I touched on that tonight.
Right.
Amazing. Can't wait to see you.
Thank
Very
you.
exciting.
Thank
And
you.
we're so grateful to you.
Appreciate it.
And your courage, your bravery, and your voice on all of these issues.
Yeah, I literally wish there was more of you. Like, can we plant and grow you? And
clone?
and yeah,
And
can
a
we clone
Paulina
you so
Luna?
we can send you guys both to Congress to get this done?
I would say we are more effective if you're not trying to be up there for 20 years. So I don't want to do this for, all that long.
See,
which
that's
is why I
the
think
end.
I'm
Bless
the
you,
most
which is
effective.
what the founding fathers intended.
Yeah.
Citizen legislators.
Where can everyone find what you're doing and continue to stay up to speed on everything we talked
Yeah,
about?
so you can follow my official account for legislation at Rep Luna, and then my personal, which is where I put out more of the, I think, informational stuff that I'm seeing happening or what need to change at Real Anna Paulina.
This is great. If
I
you guys
follow
want to
both
help,
accounts. They're amazing.
let's help defeat the deep state together, the two-tier system of justice. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, look forward to
Thank
her
you.
talk tonight. Thank you.